A brutal crime, a man locked up for 11 years. But did he do it? Tonight on Sunday, new evidence. Should the case be reopened?
Then,
It's my coat.
the little boy born without a face, a family's plea through Facebook, and the kindness of a stranger that will change his life forever.
Kia ora, Miriam Makamo. He wasn't there, he didn't do it. That's what a convicted killer says about one of Christchurch's most horrific crimes. Mike October confessed to being at the scene of a young woman's rape and murder. He was convicted along with 2 other men. But later he claimed he was never there. His co-accused said he wasn't there, and there was no DNA evidence against him. So why was October found guilty? Tonight, a Sunday investigation unearths evidence the jury never heard. This from Libby Middlebrook.
Don't get me wrong, I've done bad things, but I didn't deserve that.
What's it like to be known for something so terrible?
Heavy, dark. It gets in your bones.
He lives his life in the shadow of his convictions.
I wear that label, but that's not who I am.
Did you kill Anne-Marie Allens?
No, I did not.
Yet you made a confession.
Yes, I did.
So why would a man make a confession, tell police he was at the scene of a crime if he wasn't there? For 11 years, Mike October was locked up in prison for rape and murder, telling people he didn't do it. Tonight, we reveal new alibi evidence in the case and meet the high-powered legal team now fighting to overturn his convictions. Do you think Mike October's innocent?
Yes, I do.
It was the spring of 1994, and Anne-Marie Allens, a sweet young factory worker, was out clubbing in central Christchurch. The following day, her body was found at a primary school. She'd been raped and brutally murdered.
Police began an intensive search of the area for clues.
The city on lockdown with killers on the loose, police were swift to identify an early prime suspect.
Charges are likely.
A troubled and violent young offender named Mike October. No wonder they suspected you.
Mate, if I was in a police uniform, I'd suspect me too.
Back then, he was 25 years old, already with an extensive criminal record.
Aggravated robberies, kidnapping, theft, reckless driving, threatening to kill.
You were a bit of a lowlife.
You could say that, Libby, yes.
A past he doesn't hide from. Why should we care what happens to you?
The choices that I made back then don't define the character that I am today. I still have goodness within my soul.
On that spring evening back in '94, October was drinking in a Littleton bar, oblivious to what lay ahead.
I was with 2 men that I just met, drinking, indulging.
He was intoxicated on alcohol and chemicals. He was pretty wasted.
Michael Green was with October that night, showing off his new Ford Falcon V8.
But it was basically going out on the town, hooning around town in my V8 car and, be larrikins, have fun.
At close to midnight, October Green and a friend left for the city.
My last memory is coming down the staircase of the Wonder Bar, to Mike's car, jumping in the front seat, and then boom, that's it.
October says he blacked out.
I was crashed, gone.
By the time we got to the end of the tunnel, he was asleep in the car. He was basically unconscious.
Out like a light.
Out like a light.
Green drove them to a city hotel bar and left October sleeping, passed out in his parked car. Do you remember trying to wake him up?
I think we were jibing him, like saying, "Hey man, you piker, wake up man," and he just didn't stir at all.
At close to the same moment across town, 22-year-old Anne-Marie decided to leave a city nightclub and walk home alone. She would be dead within hours. So what happened to Anne-Marie during the early hours of that morning? Who did she meet in the lead up to her death? Green says he left the hotel bar a few hours later and October was still asleep. Had he moved?
No, he hadn't moved at all.
And it was close to dawn when October says he finally woke up outside a flat. How many hours had passed?
Probably 5.5.
How did he seem to you?
He just seemed disappointed that he'd missed out on the good night and where did it happen and, you know, where did the night go? He still wanted to party.
October had a second wind, left his mates and went out on a crime spree.
Automatically it's kicked into take this man's money.
He robbed a taxi driver, broke into a house and forced a woman to take him to a money machine, stealing her cash.
That person back then, very, very cold, very angry young man.
Before deciding to skip town to lay low.
I was running, I was frightened.
By now, back in Christchurch, Anne-Marie's body had been found at the primary school.
Police haven't yet identified the victim, but confirmed she was probably sexually assaulted.
Police scoured the city for clues and jumped on an early lead. Detectives had found themselves a star witness, a woman who said she'd seen Anne-Marie with 3 men right before she was murdered, walking here towards the school. Police asked the witness if she could identify the men, and she picked out a photo. It was Mike October.
My first emotional reaction was, F you, I did not take this girl's life.
He was already in police custody, arrested for the robberies. What were they saying to you?
We have a witness that's identified you with this lady before she was deceased. Speak up, buddy. What have you been doing?
They thought he was one of 3 men responsible for the attack. How sure were police that you were one of them?
Yeah, 99.8%.
But October says he couldn't remember a thing.
There's nothing there. Just blacked out.
From the time he fell asleep leaving Littleton until sunrise.
Scary, very scary, because it's like a blank canvas.
He says he began to get confused in the interview.
Frustration, doubting, was I asleep? You know, could I have gone out and done that? My head was shot, eh?
And over time, he says the detectives began to whittle him down.
I'd convinced myself so much through the line of questioning that I thought, you've done this. You've actually done this.
It's pretty disturbing, Mike.
Yeah, it's warped, eh? It's not good. Yeah.
Next, with no lawyer present, October did something that's difficult to fathom. You confessed?
Yes, I confessed.
Telling police he was there and had had consensual sex with Anne-Marie, but was it the truth? Do you think Mike October's innocent?
Definitely, 100%.
Coming up, we reveal new evidence never heard by the jury.
The only reason that I'm here today, talking to you, is because I know what happened was wrong.
Within days of being arrested for the murder of Anne-Marie Allens, telling police and another person he'd been with her, Mike October says he realised he'd made a huge mistake.
It was almost like light bulbs going off and saying, you didn't take that young lady's life, McCarty. You done some bad shit, but you didn't take her life.
Do you think Mike October's innocent?
Yes, I do.
Nigel Hampton QC was October's lawyer after his arrest, but never represented him at trial. He believes the case against him never stacked up.
It is always troubling, in my mind, if a case is reliant on eyewitness identification. It's notoriously unreliable.
There was no forensic evidence, no fingerprints or blood linking October to the crime, and Hampton says his confession was false.
It seemed to me to fit a pattern of of what now described as confabulation.
It's an unconscious trick of the mind, where someone suffering from a memory blackout fills that gap with a fabricated story.
And you're trying to piece together what you've done, and you start to take in the suggestions of your interrogators, and they become seeds in your own mind, and the person inside says, well, I must have done these things.
And there was another twist in the case against October.
It was intense, it was doing my head in.
Police alleged 3 men had killed Anne-Marie, October and Richard Genge and Samuel Kerner. Had you ever seen these men before?
Never. No.
October says he met them for the first time in prison, and Genge and Kerner were just as confused to see him.
They looked at me funny. It's like, huh? They asked, who are you?
The Crown's case was that Genge and Kerner met Anne-Marie on the streets of central Christchurch and happened to walk past the car where October was sleeping. That he woke and joined them, and together they raped and murdered Anne-Marie before he walked back to the car and fell back to sleep. Genge and Kerner admitted they were with Anne-Marie that night. Their semen was found on her body, but they told the jury October was never there.
I was angry, because I was getting accused for their crime.
So if October wasn't with Genge, Kerner and Anne-Marie, where was he? Is Mike October innocent?
Definitely, 100%.
Sunday tracked down Michael Green, the man who was socialising with October on the night of the murder. He's never spoken publicly about it until now.
The only reason that I'm here today, talking to you, is because I know what happened was wrong.
Green says October couldn't have done it because he was drunk and asleep in his car the whole night.
You know, I seen him with my own eyes.
Green says on the night of the murder, he parked up his new V8 right outside the hotel bar.
And was the car parked right here?
The car was nosed in this way.
Okay.
He says he left the bar to check on it 4 times.
Mostly because they're pretty easy to steal, those vehicles, and
How do you know October was in your car the whole time?
because he was there. Every time I went out, he was there, in the car. The car was still locked. He hadn't moved.
The jury heard from a witness who thought Green's car was empty when he walked past. Although the witness later conceded in court someone could have been asleep in the shadows. Green says he's certain October was there. Did you tell this to police?
I told the police everything that happened that night.
Any chance that you're wrong?
No, I wouldn't be here today.
2 people gave witness statements to police backing his story about checking on his car. But Green's version of events was never heard by the jury because he didn't appear in court as a witness. Did the Crown ask you to appear as a witness?
No, not ever.
And he wasn't called by October's defence team either, even though they tried to argue he had an alibi.
Still a question mark. That still lingers up in my head. Why didn't he call Mike?
How important is Green's account of that night?
It's important, and the pity of it was that that important evidence was never heard by that first jury.
In the spring of 1995, a little over a year after Anne-Marie's death, October, Genge and Kerner were found guilty of rape and murder and given life sentences.
I was shattered my world, gutted me.
Even Kerner's lawyer expressing disquiet over the verdict.
And I'm dismayed that Michael October in particular has been found guilty.
From prison, October continued to protest his innocence, making an unsuccessful appeal against his convictions and using a high-profile hostage drama to draw attention to his case.
It's not as if I haven't thought about this over the last 20 years. What could I have done then better to help Mike? How's it going? Long time no see.
So now Green's stepping forward to try and help a man he hasn't seen in almost a decade.
Means so much. I'm really wrapped, really excited.
What do you want?
I want justice.
So everybody, this is Makari October.
Kia ora.
This is Josh.
Josh.
And now he's not alone.
We want every single thing because
A team of experts is now trying to have his case reopened. Lawyers, forensic investigators, criminologists from all around the country.
This is an horrendous crime. To be wrongly attached to it is to me, gravely serious blow to the person and to our system.
For Hampton, it's unfinished business. He had to hand over October's case after being appointed Chief Justice of Tonga.
Here am I, 20 years later, trying to lay to rest some of the ghosts from my past.
It's really humbling for me to know that he's still willing to back, my corner.
2 decades of waiting to be heard, now over. Why can't you just leave this in the past?
I don't deserve to live with a label. I've been a murderer and rapist. No one does, ever. I want things put right.
And Mike October's legal team says it's likely they'll attempt to have his convictions set aside, either using the Privy Council or asking the Governor-General to reopen the case. We will be following progress and would like to hear from you if you know something about the case.